Okay. Sorry, I had technical difficulties. Thank you, Dr. Hefner. Members of the board, I'd like to draw your attention to Exhibit C in your board packet. Before I get into that, I want to mention that Scott Carlin, our facilities coordinators here tonight, and after I get through going through all the boring pieces, he's going to show you the good stuff that came from all the capital projects the last few years and give you an update to where we are. In the package, you'll have actually 3 different reports. The first one being the 2012-13 capital budget report, which I will add is the last one you will see, as it is, if you'll notice on the last page, remaining balance of 0. We are closing this one out, and this is the last time you will see this one. The next report that you have is for the 2013-2014 capital budget. And currently, I guess we have about 90% of everything completed and approximately $952,000 balance left there. Last but not least, by any means, is the referendum report. And this shows you everything since the beginning of the referendum projects. I would like to draw your attention to one particular item here that you've never seen before on page 3 of this report. New middle school. This is the middle school budget, or this is the budget to construct a new middle school. I guess I want to mention to you that we have reconciled and closed out all of our previous capital projects. We have moved all remaining funds to the middle school, and it is funded, as you see here, with money in the bank, basically. There are several things that you don't see here. You don't see the $5 million of fund balance that was set aside for this, and you do not see the current 2015 capital budget of $1.5 million that we set aside to fund this middle school. It is funded without those 2 items. I'll be glad to try to answer any other questions that you may have regarding this.
We've gotten a lot of great news tonight. Somebody said use the word happy sometime today. So certainly, Ms. Richardson, that's great news. I think that will make the board extremely happy, will make the public happy for us to have been able to do all these projects and not have to reach into that general fund balance, not have to interrupt our capital budget, which schools utilize. So I did have a question, but I wanted to make that comment, Ms. Watson. That's really fantastic. That's wonderful news.
So what's the total that you were able to save us?
Well, I haven't saved you anything. We just identified funds that we can use towards the middle school.
You saved us from going into those other funds. What was the total of that?
About $6.5 million we have set aside that we currently are not planning on using for the middle school.
Well, you had mentioned that you were really sharpening your pencil, and I think you have proved that you did that.
I lost a lot of sleep in the meantime, wondering how we were going to fund this middle school.
Now where did the $6.5 million come from?
$6.5 million I was referring to was the $5 million fund balance that was set aside, and $1.5 million in the 2015 capital budget that we set aside that we are currently not planning or having to use towards the middle school project.
But where do the savings come from that you don't need to use those 2 accounts?
Well, they're not savings. What we've done is we've gone through and we've identified in all the previous capital budgets and the referendum projects where we have finished all the projects, there were remaining funds. So we've transferred those funds to the middle school budget.
Surplus funds from other projects.
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Richardson, I want to go since the 2013-14 capital budget will reappear quarterly or something. I wanted to ask you something for for clarification, it's on page 6 of that last of the 2013-14 capital budget report, which is the summary page.
Yes.
The green under capital budget, that's a little less than $10 million. And then we moved to the current budget of 10.6. And then we had those total transfers. What I wanted to understand was, were we able to grow that availability of funds by some transfers from the prior year? Is that how we increased that amount, or am I missing something as far as the 9 million versus the 10.6, that transition?
Mr. Turner, I had an answer for that. I may have to get back with you on that because it just left me. We have done a lot of reconciliations and moving some things around, but we have not moved any additional funds necessarily into the 14 budget. If you don't mind, before I say something that's not correct, I'll get back with you on that.
That's okay, and letting us know is fine. As you go through this, there's a capital budget, and there's the best efforts of the department heads and your office to determine what something's going to cost. And then the work is done, and there are times when we actually don't have to spend as much to do that project. So those funds can get carried over, transferred to perhaps another school. Is that correct?
That is correct. Or sometimes we try to use it in the same school most of the time.
Right. If we have a situation where we go over in a particular school, and it happened in at least this reconciliation from the last year, as far as the authority of the finance department to make those changes, is there a policy that says you can make adjustments up to a certain amount, or is the policy sort of open-ended because we've approved the budget, y'all determine where the money best needs to go when we either have a shortage or when we have an overage in an area?
There's nothing that really restricts, I guess, the movement such as it is in the general fund. However, when I'm looking at any kind of transfers that we're doing, I want to make sure that, number one, we've completed the project so that any funds remaining are we're not taking them away from anything. And number two, if we can utilize it in that particular location with other projects, we do that. Now, that doesn't always work out that way. Obviously, if we have some cost overruns or something, we may have to move it from one school, one location to another. But there's nothing that restricts that.
Mr. Richardson, let me ask you also a question about the three high schools we're working on. And can you talk to me and maybe explain a little bit more the contingency money that we have and how we use that, and kind of where we stand with looking at how much we have now to completion?
As far as contingency
Yes.
funds? Well, Mr. McAllister may be better suited to answer how we, utilize some of these contingency funds, but it's exactly what it is for things that pop up. And for instance, Chapin High School, you'll see several, if I can pull the right report out, you'll see several unbudgeted expenditures in the Chapin High School project. Well, obviously that's where the contingencies or either remaining funds from other lines that we've done, that's where those have been moved to take care of those kind of issues that were unforeseen. Does that answer your question?
I think so. I think so. So some of the expenses at Chapin High School, that's what I was just looking at, because I see that the contingency fund is a little bit lower than some of the others.
We've basically depleted that one.
Yeah.
And understand too that this is a lot of the reconciliations I was talking about as we're going through and reconciling the budgets on these. We're trying to go ahead and take care of those items that were expended but not budgeted, so that we stay within our budgets total.
Okay, and I do see that that unfortunately for that project we had what was that, $863,000+ in legal fees that perhaps if we hadn't had those, then our contingency fund would be, look a little bit better there and give us more of a cushion. But that really helped, that really kind of knocked it down too, that,
Yes.
okay. That's what I was trying to understand. All right, any other questions? All right,
If
thank
it's
you.
okay, I'd like to call on Mr. Carlin to give you a brief overview of some of the things that we've accomplished through
Yes.
this capital process.
Thanks.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, normally I don't need a mic. What I'd like to do is just tell you a few details about last year's budget as well as this year's budget, and then following any questions, show you a few pictures about some of the things that we've done. Before I begin, I'd just like to take the opportunity to tell y'all, I've been working in facilities operations and maintenance for around 25 years now. First in active duty, with the federal government, active duty Air Force. Then at the university level, I was with Mercer University for 2.5 years. And then, of course, with District 5, and I also get to do a little bit with the reserves. But I have never been associated with an organization that makes the kind of commitment that you all make to not only doing the fun projects that Mr. McAllister and Chris get to talk about all the time, and that everybody can see that drives by, but you also make an equal commitment to maintaining the physical plant of those existing schools. And one of the ways that you got to see that was when we did the Good Housekeeping Award not too long ago. One of the schools that was recognized was Crossroads Middle School, which is certainly one of our older schools. Well, the only way that that could be possible is that we put the dollars back into maintaining those existing schools we have and try to make sure that they're on par with all the new ones we're putting in. It's difficult many times because, you know, we've got different infrastructure and different emphasis that go into the designs of our new programs, but we certainly can make a commitment to maintain our roofs, our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, our carpet, keeping it painted, all the things that make our students excited to come to class, and also has a direct bearing on their ability to learn. And in all my years, I've just never seen the commitment made that y'all make. I mean, my counterparts I talk to at conferences and things, they talk about how they have to fight and scrape to try to get the monies to maintain that physical plant. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to explain to people that if you don't maintain that physical plant, as it starts to go down and you get into a cycle called deferred maintenance, it costs a ton of money to raise it back up to standards. And particularly with the commitment of the bond program, and Mr. McAllister talked back in May about all the things that have been done in those schools, not only the projects that the taxpayers certainly can see when they walk through, but all the other systems that they don't see. So you basically got brand new schools with those projects. And so it's allowed us to take our capital dollars, apply it into those other schools, and make sure we're keeping all our schools at an excellent level. So I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate being the guy that cares about stuff that people don't typically see, like roofs and heating and ventilation and air conditioning. I appreciate the commitment that you've made to the taxpayers. Okay, last year's budget. We had 28 projects. Of those 28, we've completed 26. The two remaining projects are some maintenance work on our tennis courts at Irmo High School and Dutch Fork High School that we'll be doing in the coming year, probably between seasons, and also constructing a greenhouse for the ag program here at the center. And that project is actually designed. We anticipate getting started on that fairly shortly. And that will complete last year's program. And I'm going to show you a few pictures in a minute about some of the things we've done. But that was last year's budget. This year's budget, of the 23 projects, all but 4 are underway. One of the projects that we'll be digging into this fall is actually a design effort to look at the front entrance for Dutch Fork Middle School and how the whole front office operation takes place and visitors come in. So again, of the 23, 4 we have remaining to work on. But I can tell you that with everything that's going on this summer, we've got great contractors on the job. One of the contractors that's built the center and the high school and the middle school is actually doing a lot of our work, EdCon. They were the successful bidder. So the project is going well, and we anticipate good success. Pending your questions, I'll show you some pictures. Okay.
Great.
And I'm hopefully going to be able to work this thing. What you see in the first slide is Dutch Fork Middle School, and we're in the second phase now of completing an HVAC, excuse me, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. I'm going to say HVAC to represent that. You know, when that school was built, not everyone was here for that. I came in just at the tail end of the project, but because of some of the site conditions on that site, some value engineering had to go into that project. And value engineering is a real tricky thing. Which you can get into quickly if you're not careful is devalue engineering. And it takes a good cohesiveness between your design agent, your construction manager, and also your contractor to make sure that you don't devalue. Well, when we constructed the school, I think we compromised a little bit when it came to the HVAC system. Very cheap to go in, but fairly expensive to operate and not entirely reliable. This system that's going in now is very reliable, it's very efficient, and it's going to serve us well in the future. On the left is one of the bigger units outside. That's not visible from the road, thankfully. The picture in the middle is just to show you that we did not have gutters all the way around that building either. And in the picture on the far right, you can see the gutters as well as the new pad going in for one of the big units that we're putting in this summer. This is also Dutch Fork Middle School, just showing you a little bit about the gutter system that went in, and now that has a complete gutter system around the entire school. This is Irmo Middle School. One of the things that Mr. Poole has done a great job of is working with us and identifying areas in the district where, areas may be a little dark, maybe not as safe as some others. So we did some more exterior lighting installation to make sure we took care of those, and this is the walkway going down from the main building to the activities building at Irmo Middle, and you can see some of the new lighting that went in there. Not many people get excited about the picture on the left. That's a big hot water heater for one of our kitchens at Nursery Road. Those make me excited. That's a really good water heater. And when those ladies lose hot water in the kitchens, they make my life really uncomfortable. So that's a good one. The one on the right there is a new awning for our auto and collision shop so that they can have the doors open and be working on the cars without in the direct sunlight and also in the elements. Back to Irmo Middle School. The picture on the left is what the reception area has looked like for years and years and years. Last year, we did do a portion of this renovation on the front. We redid a lot of your finishes, the reception desk. What's going on this year is you'll see that area above the reception desk. It's going to mimic the shape of the desk. It's going to have a higher ceiling, so when people walk in, they feel a little bit more welcome. It's a little bit more pleasant. Now, the reason we're doing that ceiling this year is we've kind of embarked on a policy that when we replace HVAC systems, where it makes sense, we go ahead and replace the ceiling and lighting at the same time. So we're only having to deal with a ceiling one time, and that's what we're doing in the reception area there. We did some flooring replacement at River Springs and Lake Murray Elementary. This is Lake Murray Elementary in the mini theater, as well as the media center on the right. And then that was the replacement at River Springs. The media center on the left, computer class in the center, and then another picture of the media center on the right. Harbison West. Everybody who parked in the lower parking lots at Harbison West had to make that big jog around, and so we introduced a couple of staircases to make that a little bit more convenient. And then on the right at H.E. Corley, you all know that we have a fairly strong special needs program at that school, and so we introduced some accommodations there coming out of the academic wing to the car rider loop there, and also we installed a stairway there that was a fairly steep ramp. Now, The ramp actually now goes into the left of the picture and back down to the playground. It's much more gentle and accommodating for those students. Chapin Middle School, that had a pretty unattractive front entrance, and it was a little confusing when people parked in different places how you get to the front office. So that's the existing that we had up in the upper left, and in the right is the new site. We did some landscaping there. You can see the new bench there. Also added some more sidewalk so that the students aren't all on top of each other when they're standing out there for car drop-off and pickup. And then in the next picture, you'll see how we really created a pretty formal entrance coming from the parking lot up to the school. And the picture on the left is looking towards the school. The picture on the right is looking back towards the parking lot. This is just showing you some of the painting we did, or we're in the process of doing actually for this year's budget. On the left is what some of the structural members under the tower at the front entrance look like, and now already what the new paint job looks like on the right. Also, since we were talking about pressure washing earlier, you see the picture on the left. One of the unique features with Ballantine is the stonework that goes around the top of the building and also that wainscot at the bottom. Well, it had gotten fairly dingy and dirty, and on the right you can see where the pressure washing has been done. We've also sealed that will hopefully keep it looking good for years to come. And that's all I had, pending any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
That is great.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate the good work you and your team does, and I would echo what you said. It's so important to keep our schools up, and very proud of the efforts that we have and the ongoing attention we give them. I think it pays great dividends in every way possible.
Yes, sir,
Thank
it does.
you.
I have a great team. Thank you.
That concludes the
Ms. Baumgartner has a
Sure,
question.
First of all, I'm very happy to see that these capital improvements. And, you know, I remember years ago when I came to the board and people were, you know, we're not having the public, we're able to keep up our old facilities.
Yes, ma'am.
Is what I want to say. And I remember when Greenville passed its bond referendum, they were tearing down their old schools because they hadn't kept them up.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm very glad to be in this shape we are. And thank you for keeping up with our older schools.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Ms. Hare.
Scott, I want to take the opportunity, too, to tell you how important I think maintenance is, and it is one of those unnoticed things. I think as you pointed out, when you hear from a cafeteria area that doesn't have hot water, it's panic time almost. So I do appreciate it. And Keith, while you're here, we've had a lot of, as Mr. Turner so aptly put it a little while ago, we have lots to be happy about in this district. And I think one of those things is the fact that our taxpaying citizenry in 2008 stepped up to the plate and they said, this is what we expect, and they're very supportive community. And this has always been an education community. So Keith, for your efforts, for all the schools, we're sitting in one of the schools that's going to start its third year next year if I hadn't lost track of time. It's just a time of great pride that all this building has gone on, and we have eliminated most of our portable classrooms, and we have children and students in very good learning environments, and I think that's what an education community does. So for all the efforts from all the parts, I just think there is a lot, Mr. Turner, to be happy about, and I think this community is I get more comments about folks that go by these different schools and see these different projects. I think it's a great point of pride for this community. So thank you for every effort, every small, big project, all of it comes together and people say, wow, it is working.
Well, and you just reminded me of a point that I meant to make earlier, and I didn't get it. It actually slipped my mind. But because of the progress we've made and the commitment that you've made to renewing these facilities, you know, it's what allowed us, in many cases, in many ways, to do the middle school.
Right.
So,
Right. And I almost forgot this, but Mr. Richardson, you continue to bring great news. You hadn't found anything, but you keep drilling and digging. We want you to have all the time you need to do that. That was wonderful news tonight, just absolutely wonderful. So thank you very much. I do too.
That concludes the superintendent's report.